We all deal with the Sunday scaries, right? Sunday scaries are those oh shit, stressful, nervous, can't sleep, dread feelings that hit you on Sunday evenings when you think about work or just freaking life. Unfortunately, you can feel that same pit in your stomach any day of the week. Thankfully, Sunday Scaries CBD gummies were made to defeat the crap that life throws at us. These are the perfect CBD gummies for professionals on the grind, super moms, students, party animals, and everyone in between. Look, I get really nervous before these interviews that we do. So I take 2 CBD gummies every Sunday before these interviews, and the Sunday scaries are gone. I have no problem with these interviews. So we've partnered with Sunday Scaries to bring you an incredible offer. Head over to sundayscaries.com and use promo code DELUXE15 at checkout to get 15% off of your entire order. That's sundayscaries.com and use promo code DELUXE15 at checkout to save 15% off of your entire order.
This podcast is part of the Deluxe Edition Network. To find other great shows on the network, head over to deluxeeditionnetwork.com. That's deluxeeditionnetwork.com.
My friends, welcome to another episode of Deluxe Edition. My name is Ray, and I am the host of this thing. And with me, as always, the man who has enough pop culture knowledge to fill up the Grand fucking Canyon, Casey Shearer.
How are you, buddy? That is a very generous compliment because we both know that's not true. Maybe the Pennsylvania Grand Canyon.
How you feeling there, buddy?
I'm feeling really good, man. We did something very different on the show since you have been a part of it. Ray took over the hosting duties for this show.
I did. It was weird because I'm so used to just drinking beer and hanging out and listening and contributing like 8-10% of the show. This time I went above and beyond my 10%. You know, my pay grade 10%. So I went way above that on this one. But we talked to our good friend, JD Slajchert, who is back for his second appearance. And it could not have gone better.
Yeah, it really couldn't have gone any better for picking you as the host for this episode because as you'll notice during the episode, I wasn't there for much of it. My internet was in and out, and I just left for a while. And I actually can't wait to hear it myself because I didn't hear most of it.
Yeah, I'm assuming Casey was on top of his house, like jiggling antennas and shit, trying to get stuff working.
Yeah, almost.
But before we can do that, we have to do the housekeeping. You can find all the other episodes, and there's over 100 of them, at deluxeedition.show. So go there. Plenty of stuff to check out. You can find us on Instagram and Twitter at Deluxe Edition Pod. And if you would like to support the show monetarily, and I understand, if you don't want to do that, that's fine. But go to patreon.com/Deluxe Edition Pod. And if you would like a sweet t-shirt, go over to whatamaneuver.net/collections/deluxe, little slashy thing, edition. Get yourself a t-shirt. Or you can go over to my shop at TeePublic at the 10-Cent Beer Night podcast store and get your lady friends a white tank top for summer and they're on sale right now. So if you hurry, they're only $13. Yeah, and we are a part of the Deluxe Edition Network, The Den, which is the new home of independent awesomeness. So go check out all our other podcasts. There's like, what are we up to? 150 podcasts on this network now?
Yeah,
It's like 26 now, but man, we have a lot of good shows on the network now. It's amazing.
Yeah, there are some amazing shows. Definitely check everyone out. But the podcasts of the month for May are The Real Drunks and Horsing Around. Go check them out. DeluxeEditionNetwork.com.
All right, we ready to do this interview?
Yes, we are.
All right, let's go. There he is. Let him in.
My boys, how are we doing, fellas?
What's going on, JD?
What's going on, brother?
Hey, it's what a pleasure it is to be back with my favorite podcast out there.
Oh, that's excellent.
Oh man, I've been looking forward to this for a while. See, there's the hat. There we go. Go get them on the website.
Yeah.
That was a hand delivery too, actually. I'm sure Casey mentioned that, but yeah. Man, that was an in-person, no shipping cost, nothing like that.
That's a good deal if you can make that happen for everyone in America.
Yeah, I'll have buddies that reach out to me and they're like super excited about the hat, and then I get that next text like, so could you just bring it to my house? And I'm like, dude, I don't know about that, but like, once you start making those in-person deliveries, people start asking for it. So,
oh, yeah, you could charge for that delivery though.
Yeah, maybe even give it like a little signature or something. Who knows? I mean, we're early in the merch process. I'm doing what I can to navigate those interesting waters, but it's been fun, man. I mean, I think the hat is such a cool tool, like given that, not everyone reads, but maybe they love that message of you're not alone, and boom, they're buying the hat. And so, yeah, I've had people that have reached out that I feel like maybe weren't fans of the book or weren't readers, but wanted to get a hat, wanted to support in a different way. So that was cool too.
Yeah, I find that when I drink a lot, it's hard to read, but it's easy to wear a hat. So I'm on board with that program.
Exactly, man. At that point, a hat still carries the same message. So there you go. And then you could tell people you read too. It's a good conversation starter. Like, hey, this is from this book I read and love. So,
It's funny you bring that up because there's been so many times when I've worn this hat through an airport or at the grocery store, and people have said to me, "I love that hat, man." And this is my boy JD Slajchert.
That's right.
Go buy the book.
That's right. Yeah, yeah, that's cool, man. And I appreciate that support. And appreciate your guys' support on all fronts, man, with the nonprofits I'm with the books. You guys are killers, man. So it means a lot. And I'm serious when I say this date was circled to return and speak with you guys tonight for that reason, because I know we had a good time the first time. But yeah, the hat thing is it's cool. I mean, I think the merch stuff is, I don't know. People can get like a little bit frustrated maybe if you're like promoting something so much on your social media or trying to profit off of like every which way you can off a book and do other things. But to be honest, I haven't really had that issue. So many people have been supportive, tell me the same things, like wearing the hat, and then people say, "Oh my God, what? I love that hat. What's it about, or where's it from?" and ask more. So it's cool, man. It's I think it's great to share that message in a different way. So yeah, I appreciate that.
So here's what's happening tonight there, JD. So because you're a returning guest,
yep,
Casey has decided that now all returning guests have to deal with me as the host.
Hey, that's good with me, man. I'm ready to go. So
because the last time we talked, I said to you, when you come back, we're going to have fun this time.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
We're not doing the serious thing this time.
Too intense, yeah.
Yeah, we're going to have fun. So I hope you're ready to have fun.
I'm ready. Let's go.
All right. So I did some intensive digging into your past.
Oh, good.
Trying to dig up any kind of dirt that I could find.
Yeah.
And I was shocked at what I found. Nothing. I found nothing. There is no good dirt on you.
Look, I wouldn't say that's totally true. I think everybody's got, people maybe that they've wronged or scorned or whatever, but maybe it's because I'm a little young, maybe I haven't been out in the world long enough to make like a real enemy yet. But I guess that's a good thing that maybe I was squeaky clean according to your digging. But
I searched, man. I put in JD car thief. I put in JD selling drugs. I couldn't find nothing. So I'm pretty happy with that, though. I think
that's great. I'm pleased to hear that.
So Miami Heat.
Yeah. Oh my God.
You see the lob pass from Gabe Vincent to Jimmy Butler the other night. Did you see that?
Of course, I talked to Gabe right after the game. Actually, he was super excited, and it's funny, man. I mean, Gabe is. We could spend a whole episode just talking about my relationship with Gabe Vincent and his importance in my life, and then obviously the life of Luke's and everything that we've done. But he is incredible, man. I mean, I'd be the first to tell you, like, I didn't think this was going to happen to him, like making it to the NBA, being a starter in the NBA, and then being the starter in the NBA on a playoff team.
Yeah.
But here he is, just continuing to like blow up like expectations out of the water. And I've spoken to, other people that are close with him over the last like couple weeks, and the one thing I just say now, man, is like, I'm never going to doubt him ever again. Like he had 20 points tonight against the Knicks, and everyone was like, wow, that's amazing. I was at a LucStrong charity event this afternoon. They're like, wow, that's amazing. He did so great. And I was like, it's Gabe, man. Of course he did that. Like, what's he going to have 40 next game? Like, I'm not doubting him ever again. I made that mistake already. And I'm just so happy for him. I know he's super excited. I think this series against the Knicks is totally winnable. Sky's the limit. I mean, with Jimmy Butler, I think that he can beat anybody. So
yeah, is he still wearing the wristbands? I couldn't tell in the videos.
Yeah, he is, man. He is. You'll have to. It's sometimes hard to catch like on that super like kind of zoomed out camera.
Right.
But yeah, he still wears it, which is pretty amazing. And it's. I mean, I catch all my Heat games, man. I'm close with Max Strus, Duncan Robinson, Bam Adebayo. He came to my family's restaurant and had dinner there. That was pretty fun. So yeah, those boys are they're doing great, man.
So are you going to pick them to win the whole thing then?
Oh, for sure. 100%. I got the Heat winning the NBA. I'm going. Wherever it is, I'm going. I might even get out to New York actually for this series. So we'll see. That's to be determined. But yeah, I've been talking to actually some Santa Barbara alumni that are like, man, we got to get out there. So yeah, every time Gabe has a great game, I get like 45 texts from like all these people that I've played with. And yeah, it's pretty funny, but.
So we kind of jumped over the connection there. Can you just tell people real quick how you and Gabe know each other? Yeah,
so Gabe Vincent was my college teammate. We both played at UC Santa Barbara, where I played college basketball at. And we were best friends and lived together, and we're like basically roommates all of college. And he was also very close to Luc Bodden, who was the little boy that passed away from sickle cell disease that I wrote my first book about. And now Gabe plays for the Miami Heat, and we've just remained ever close. And he's kind of my, before he was like really famous and well known, he was kind of my biggest supporter and fan too. So we've been best friends forever. And it's pretty wild to have a friend that close who's that big of a superstar. And I'm just excited for him, man. So
nice. So also when we spoke last time, I had asked you about bucket list travel destinations, and you listed Australia and Spain and Germany on your list. Have you made it to any of those places yet?
You know what's hilarious, man? And I mean, this might be another sort of indication of how electric you both are. is I actually am supposed to be going to Spain, hopefully, like fingers crossed, with Gabe this summer. So it's just ironic that that's the next question, but because he's actually never been to Europe, and I've done my fair bit of traveling to Europe and been fortunate to do so. But yeah, he's never been. So this off season, he said like, dude, we got to get overseas. I got to see that part of the world and just escape a little bit. And yeah, but the funny thing is, every time we talk about it, they end up advancing to another round of the playoffs. So that plan is really being encroached upon with another deep run. So I think a part of him is like, all right, like let's win the NBA finals, but also like I'm looking forward to some sort of vacation in Spain. So it's a win-win, I guess. But yeah, that's the plan.
You know, he'll have plenty of time at the end of the summer to go to Europe, so that's fine.
Well, you'd think so, but to be honest, so the finals could go all the way into June,
right?
And usually, like in the previous years, he also plays for the Nigerian national team, and they would like the minute his season ends, he'd go and do some event with them and have like exhibition game, or he went and played in the Olympics, and I think it was Tokyo. I feel like it was a couple of years ago with them. And so yeah, he's tough to pin down. So yeah, his off seasons are usually short. But anyway, yeah, that's the plan.
Does he hold dual citizenship then?
Yeah, he does. You have to play for the Olympic.
No, that's
team.
what I thought, because
Yeah.
I was pretty sure he was born in California.
So his dad is Nigerian, and he Gabe, I want to say during like his junior year of college, was going back to Nigeria to work on getting citizenship and doing all of that. I'm not exactly sure like the full details of like how that all happened, but I know they like the Nigerian national team he played for, they have like 8 or 9 different American Nigerian dual citizenship players, like Chimezi Metu, I know, is a guy he plays for the Kings. He's also on the team. Josh Okogie. There's like a lot of NBA guys that are on that Nigerian team. So it's kind of interesting. But yeah, Gabe was born in California.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I just think that's kind of weird that he sneaks off and plays for another country when he feels like it.
A lot of guys do it. I think it's pretty popular. Like I think exactly the requirement is not as like it's looser than you'd think, but I think that's kind of like that for all sports, like World Cup for soccer. I know that's like a controversial thing, but yeah, I mean these countries, they do what they can to get like Mike Brown was the coach, and he's the coach of the Sacramento Kings now, and he coaches the Nigerian team. So yeah, it's kind of interesting how there's a lot of like American influence on all sports. But
so growing up, what was the NBA team that you rooted for?
That's a great question. I'm from LA, so you'd think I'd be like some big Laker fan, but I actually really didn't like the Lakers. They just kind of rubbed me the wrong way, man. Like I don't know, I just didn't like them. And so I was a Celtic fan, and I was a huge Larry Bird fan.
Oh, yeah.
I love Paul Pierce. I love Kevin Garnett. So those series when I was like in the early 2000s when they were playing the Lakers were pretty hectic in my household. Like my dad was not happy with me. But yeah, I was going hard for the Celtics. So that was my squad.
You can't tell anybody because I'm from Cleveland, but I also like the Celtics.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's kind of a bad thing to say, but yeah, I'm a big Larry Bird.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, it's not. You can't say that out loud here. It's almost you can't even wear green here. It's bad.
Well, I mean, you guys have had some humble beginnings as a sports city, but like when LeBron brought that title home, I don't know, was that 2018 or something, or maybe 2016?
2016, I believe. Yeah,
that was pretty amazing, man. That was one of the coolest things in sports for him to come back to Cleveland and win it.
Yeah, and being down 3-1, and the whole thing was just insane.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not the biggest LeBron fan either, but when he did that, it was kind of like one of those moments in sports where like you have to just appreciate greatness, right? Like you can't say that wasn't insane.
Well, by the other side of the coin there, how do you feel about Kyrie? Do you actually think he's crazy?
You know, I've got some people close to me in my life, and it's funny we're talking about hoops because I never get the chance to do this because obviously when I come on podcasts, it's so much about my books and my speaking.
I told you, you're not allowed to talk about them.
But I have such deep ties within the sports community that most people don't even know about because it's just, you know, from my background. And so anyway, I actually have people that know Kyrie personally, and I've heard mixed things. Like I've actually heard some people tell me like, hey, he's actually super kind, you know, really like remembers your name, you know, goes up and introduces himself. Like, so my little brothers played in some pickup games with him last summer, and they were telling me stories that, you know, they weren't sure how it was going to go, and he couldn't have been nicer. Like first one in the gym, shook each of their hands, introduced himself. Hey, I'm Kyrie. Nice to meet you. What's your name? And then as he left, thanked them for playing with him by name. And yeah, just couldn't have been more pleasant. But then I've also heard things that he is just a bit short fused, I guess is like probably the appropriate way to put it. Like, you know, he just kind of loses his temper and gets, I don't know, kind of hot headed. But it's honestly, when I hear about things like what happened with him and the issues surrounding him, it's kind of like the Ja Morant thing where I just sort of feel bad for the guy knowing like he just doesn't have good people maybe around him. Like maybe he's getting bad advice or just getting pulled in a million different directions and doesn't know which way is up. And yeah, I mean, you're that young and that wealthy and that famous, like it's pretty intense. And to kind of segue that into Gabe, like I like to think that's kind of some of my role with him is like, hey, you know, we shouldn't do this, or like we should go home, like it's too late. And Gabe's been pretty straight and narrow, and I think that's why he's so successful is because he's got good people around him. Because I think when you are that in that type of world, you have to be very careful. But yeah, Kyrie, I've never met him personally, but I do feel like maybe he's a bit misunderstood, and hopefully he can get some better people in his life. But
I was gonna say, like the whole flat Earth thing. Do you think he's just messing with people with that
stuff? He's got to be, man. I mean, he's got kind of that troll in him a little bit, like, and he also just kind of calls out things for no reason. So I don't know. I mean, Kyrie's got more than one thing that he needs to probably figure out, but.
So,
but Cleveland, great though, right? Like a part of that title team. I mean,
he hit one of the biggest shots ever. Like that shot was amazing over one of the
iconic,
greatest,
man.
Yeah,
like I mean, no matter what, it's like you can't help but deny what he did for Cleveland. And when LeBron, he was one of the best players in the NBA at that time. And yeah, his fall from grace has been pretty.
I'll tell you right now, in Cleveland, he can do no wrong.
Yeah,
and he could literally go out and murder 100 people, and we're still putting a statue of him in front of our stadium.
And I think there's a couple players that have that type of like respect. Like I've heard. I mean, gosh.
Well, I mean, we have our Jim Brown statues already, and he threw women off balconies, for Christ's sake. So I mean.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of athletes that have survived like pretty horrendous allegations and things just because of how talented they are. But yeah, I mean, Kyrie is his controversy just doesn't seem to end, man. And like he's so talented. I mean, he's an amazing player. And yeah, Dallas is going to be interesting to see how he works out there. But it seems like that already isn't really going too well because they tanked their last game of the season.
Yeah. So have you been to the movies lately?
Let me think if I have. I have. I mean, I haven't been physically to the movies in a bit, but I did go and just saw. What was I just watching? Triangle of Sadness. Have you seen this movie?
No. What's that?
Triangle of Sadness is a really great film. I really enjoyed it. And if anybody out there listening is looking for a new movie to check out, that's definitely one that I would recommend. But it's kind of this movie. It's super hectic. I'll lead with that. Like it's got a million different things going on. Woody Harrelson's in it, which he has a great spot in it. But it's a movie about sort of these two young models, male and female, that are in a relationship, but they're only dating to get more followers on each other's Instagrams. And they're both like just very superficial and like, you know, getting the stupidest arguments about like social media, and like she's more famous than him. So he like takes photos for her and they go on these like trips that they win because they're influencers. And like, it's the most LA, like just take on the whole social media craze and frenzy that like is a lot of the world right now. And it's just got the satirical, like, kind of outlook on it. And then they get like stranded on this desert island and they can't even make a fire, but they like, you know, are obsessed with their cell phones still. And it's really funny, man. Like I loved it. And I thought Woody Harrelson was amazing in it. He's like the captain of the ship that they're on, that their cruise that they won. Yeah, go check it out for sure.
That I've never even heard of that. This sounds amazing.
I think it's got some critical acclaim. It's been in some big awards. The director who did it, I don't quote me on this, but I believe he's Swedish and he's younger. And this was like his second big movie, and it did really well. So now he's like coming onto the scene. But anyway, yeah, go watch it. It's really good.
So as far as TV goes, are you watching Yellow Jackets or are you watching like Ted Lasso? Because I love Ted Lasso.
I need to watch Ted Lasso. I'm going to get into Succession soon too. That's my next journey. But I just finished Only Murders in the Building.
Oh, I just started that. I'm about 6 episodes into that, and I love it.
Yeah, you know, it's like I enjoyed it a lot, but I've spoken to people that watched it too, and they're like, you know, it's kind of silly, like it's not that serious or whatever. And it's like, well, you got to sort of take it for what it is. Like it's so mindless, and you can just throw it on, and I think it's pretty funny, and I enjoy it. And I love it's not Selena. I know Selena's in it, but and it's not Steve Martin. Who's Martin Short? Is that his?
Yeah,
he is so funny, man. I could just watch him go on any show.
You got 2/3 of the Three Amigos in this thing.
Yeah,
you just got Selena instead of Chevy. That's all you got there. It's basically the Three Amigos in a hotel. That's all. It's
one of those Shorts is so, and his outfits, man. And I love how he doesn't eat anything either. Did you pick on it? Like he just does the dips.
Yeah. It's a fun show, and like I said, I'm only 6 episodes in, but it's so different than anything else I've ever seen.
Yeah,
and it's funny because the tie-in for what we do is the podcast.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that. I
didn't even realize that's what they were going to go with that, and I was just laughing so hard when they started the podcast.
Well, it oddly kind of ties into what we were saying about Triangle of Sadness. Like it applies sort of the modern world of like, you know, even Zoom or podcasts, and same with Triangle of Sadness. Like the way their take on social media was just really funny to watch a movie about, kind of how stupid it is. And I think the Only Murders in the Building does the same thing with the podcast. Like I love how they all you know, sit down, and like Tina Fey has her podcast. It's like The Competition, and season 2 is good too. I just finished that, but
I did enjoy when they thought Sting was the murderer for a minute, because I can totally see that. Hey, have you watched this show yet, Casey?
Yeah, I've seen it. I watched the first season. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Martin Short. If you go back, I'm not sure if you've ever seen this or heard of it, JD, but there was a show that he did back in the day called Jiminy Glick. Have you ever heard of that?
To be honest, I actually haven't even really heard of him. I mean, I've heard the name and I know kind of him, but this is like the first show I've watched with him front and center. And I love
man.
Oh, so he's got a rabbit hole to go down then.
Yeah. You remember Jiminy Glick, right?
Oh yeah.
Jiminy
So
Glick.
he would dress in this fat suit, right? And he would do an interview show like this, and he would have like two chairs, and his chair was a lot, like, it was really small, and he was in this big fat suit, and he would like get up in this chair like this, and and tell me like your darkest secrets. Like, he had this very weird voice that he did for it. It's really, really funny.
He kind of has the voice going in this show. Like he kind of has like you can tell his range, and I don't know. Yeah, you can see why he's so talented and how he can go anywhere. And like some of his little one-liners are terrific. But yeah, I like the dips thing, man. I just for whatever reason thought that's so funny.
It's so well written. So I'm going to segue that so well written into what are you working on currently as far as a writer?
Yeah, man, that's a good question. And have been for a while. So kind of what I could divulge at this juncture of this next project I'm working on is, so during COVID, I did the bulk of Darling, You're Not Alone. And that was when I was writing that book, and just kind of like taking advantage of the world being at like this forever standstill, just to write. And I think I kind of got to a stage where I'd written it, then I would send it out to like, my core really inner circle and get all these notes and feedback, and then I'd implement what I liked and what I didn't, and then I'd take a break, and then I'd come back to it. And I did this for like a couple of years. But there was one session where I'd send it out, and usually, I mean, people are busy, right? They can't finish a whole book in under a month. So during one of these months, I wrote a different book. It probably took me more like 6 weeks, and I wrote it kind of just for fun, as a personal project. I didn't share with anybody what it was about, and and then put it away. And I've never done this. Like with MoonFlower, it was like starts all the way through to the end until it was published. That was the only thing I worked on. Darling, same thing. And then I just had this kind of moment where I had another idea, and I just wanted to run with it, and I wanted it to be sort of very different. And then I shelved it and put it away, and then went back to Darling, and then was, involved with Darling, and then obviously went on the book tour for Darling and the whole nine. But what's interesting is this book, the third one, my agent, who was the only other person that had read it, she said to me she thought it was by far my best book I'd ever written. And she had read MoonFlower, obviously, and Darling. And then when she read this, she's like, I think this is going to be like a really special project. And it was like super rough. Like, no, I mean, it was second or third draft she read, and I don't share that with anybody. So yeah, needless to say, I've been super pumped to like dive back into it. And so for the last few months, I've been going back and revisiting that project, and making changes and edits. And yeah, it's coming along, and I am hoping to kind of get that to like maybe a more final stage by the end of June. That's sort of my goal for it. But yeah, it's a fun book for sure.
Well, thanks for not telling us any details about it. That's fantastic.
Well, look, I could say that at this point, the book is
that's fine. You don't have to give anything away. I don't want you to give anything away.
Well, but I sort of, what I can tell you is like I sort of got the idea from watching Euphoria, which is another great show for anybody who maybe hasn't watched it or is looking for a show. That's an amazing one, and it's kind of about this group of kids that are super wealthy, come from like a lot of money, and driving around like the Range Rover and have dad's debit card, and just can like spend an exorbitant amount of money and swear that they have problems. And it's kind of this like ragtag group of kids that it's the summer before they all go to college. And yeah, it's a lot, like the book's like a lot of chaos, a lot of shenanigans, getting into trouble, but it's also got this like kind of sweet bent and element to like just youth and like the sort of dangers and pitfalls of like what these kids don't realize is the world can be a dangerous place. And it's so that's a little bit what it's about. But
do you ever plan to get one of these books made into a movie or your life story made into a movie?
I think when I first began my career, my writing career, that was always a dream. That's like a big dream of mine, was to see one of my books get turned into a film. And I think to answer that question, I would say, I think Hollywood's awesome. I have friends in it that I love, and I've met some great people, and I kind of have one foot in Hollywood, one foot out. But man, do I love just being on my side of the fiction novel. Being, in what I've seen and how hectic it is to like get a movie made, get a showrunner, get a producer, get a studio to buy it. And I think like my time is best spent creating these worlds and putting everything into my book, and then letting whatever plays out after that in terms of Hollywood play out, because you can just run yourself crazy for years trying to get one movie made, where I feel like I could have written 5 or 6 more books.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think when it's all said and done, it will happen, but it's not something I guess I'm forcing maybe as much as I did earlier in my career. I'm kind of letting that come to me. Because I had a lot of interest in my first novel being turned into a film, and still do. And it's, I'm taking meetings for that and still pursuing that. But I'm not exactly waiting around to get started on the next book or the next project, because I know how long these things can take. So I guess that is kind of my thought.
Now, okay, you can pick, if they're going to do a movie about you, I'm going to let you pick any actor you want to play you. We'll turn him into a redhead. Who is the actor that you would like to play you?
Oh my gosh, man. Martin Short. No, God. I guess it'd be kind of, it'd have to play me at this age, right? I don't know.
Yeah, we're gonna have a young you, but an adult you. Is our main character.
Right.
Because he's the narrator. Obviously, you would have to do the voice for that part.
What's the guy from Twilight? What's his name?
Oh, the Twilight guy. Pattinson.
Robert Pattinson.
Yeah.
Let's go with that.
I was gonna pick Zac Efron. I think he'd be great for that.
Yeah, man. I'm not opposed either one. We can let's meet with them both and see what they think.
Let's see what they got. We'll make them audition.
Yeah. Let's bring them on the podcast and talk to them.
We gotta get the hair red first, though, because if they don't look convincing as a redhead, they're not going to be able to pull it off. I don't care how good of an actor you are. If you can't pull off the red, you're not an actor.
Amen, brother. I agree. Tom Hanks, though, would have to be my dad for sure. That's there's no negotiation there. That's the role. Love my dad. Shout out to my dad. We are the biggest Tom Hanks fans on the planet.
Now, so there goes the budget for the whole movie.
Yeah, we already spent it on 2 characters.
Yeah, but that's all right, because we'll get it back in the end. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
You've also spoken about wanting to live in Paris. Can I convince you that Cleveland is just as good as Paris?
Hey, man, I got nothing against Cleveland. Maybe I'll have to visit and then make my decision. I've never been, so how could I know, right? Like that's just something I got to figure out. But that's what an incredible point that is.
I know I've heard you say it, but what is the reason that you want to go there?
A lot of reasons, man. I could talk about Paris for endlessly.
Hemingway stuff is a big part.
So I think the obvious one is Hemingway. I'm an incredible Hemingway fanatic. I think he's so gifted, and he sort of unlocked like a real magic of that city. But I think just furthermore, like the type of stock people in Europe I would just say in general, but I would say specific to Paris, put in the arts and in conversation, in dialogue with each other. I've just really enjoyed it. Like the whole cafe society thing I think it's really real. Every time I've been to Europe, I'm just like so energized and filled with like creative light that I'm always trying to get back. And I think there's just a real beauty in like their way of life and how they live and how they carry themselves and what they believe in. And I think, but I will say though, aside from all that, which I think is sounds pretty and is poetic, I still love the US a ton. Like I love the grinder, working hard, anything is possible, achieving your dreams, land of opportunity that I think the US is and still completely is. And like there's so much good going on here. So I don't think like a Paris move or even a Europe move in general is like a long-term thing. I think it's something I would want to do for like a year or two or summer or whatever. But I think I would miss the grind of like what Americans bring to the table in terms of like so much opportunity, so much diversity, all my family, my friends, like I would miss that. And I think, I don't know, I alternate back and forth. So,
but so you've seen the Eiffel Tower, obviously.
Yeah. I've only been to Paris once. I think it was 2018, but yeah, just one time.
So is it as impressive as the landmarks in America? Like the Grand Canyon or St. Louis Arch?
I think to answer your question, I would say they are the same in terms of like beauty and allure. But what's different is like your most random basic building in Paris, that's like also a work of art where, occasionally here it's a bit more like, cookie cutter. Just because their preservation of like their historical landmarks, like everything is a landmark in Paris. But
once again, like we've only been a country for a couple hundred years.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Some of those buildings you're looking at could be 600 years old.
But see, like that's the thing is like cool to look at, but then you have to walk inside and take a shower in that building. And like the whole time I'm in Paris, I'm ducking like this.
I was gonna say, everything over there was built for dudes my height, like 4 foot tall. So you go over there at like 8 foot tall, you got to duck to just do anything.
Yeah, no,
you probably have to duck like to walk under like street lights and stuff.
I wouldn't say it's that bad, but definitely like the shower and like the mirrors in the bathroom. Like I'm like washing my hands like this, it's like that. And that gets old quick, man. Like after a week of like hanging your head like this, your neck hurts. So again, these are things like they again, that's what, that's what I meant by like sounds great, has a pretty allure, but like, it's not as practical. So I don't think it's a long-term thing, but.
So on your last book tour, you went around and talked to, you did the speaking circuit, so to speak. How did that work out for you?
It was awesome, man. I love doing stuff like that. I think what is the coolest part of getting the chance to go and talk to, hundreds and thousands of people and be on shows and TV and podcasts is just like the every day is different. You wake up and it's a new type of show, a new opportunity. People ask you different questions. People have different interests in what you've done, and it was a really incredible thing to see. But I think what was cool too is like I got to go to places that like when we first met, right? Like I'd never met you guys. I'm coming right onto your show, and here we go. But then I also had places where I had been for years. Like I TV networks that covered me when I was even in high school that I was returning to with this book, and to see like the kind of I guess tenure or longevity that I had and what it's built into now, and just how that's going to sort of be like a forever place I'll go, is pretty cool. And then, you know, things like this, like getting to come back and speak with you guys, it's like, yeah, I can't wait to come back with my next book or my next project or whatever it may be, because we've now been getting to know each other for this time. And the relationships you build, I guess is what I'm trying to say, is like, that's been really awesome and something I'm still feeling like to this day. And it's really special, man, for sure.
Yeah, I feel the same way about everybody we talk to.
Right.
Like we want everyone to come back and talk to us again, because you start to, you know, you develop those relationships, and it's like you root for them. Like I totally get excited when like you're like, oh, new book, working on it, and I'm like, yeah, let's get this done. Yeah. I want you to write a book every 3 weeks.
Oh my God, man, me too. I wish.
If it was that easy, we'd all do it. So.
Yeah. Well, the ideas, man, they come. I mean, I kind of always, like, someone was asking me recently, like, where do you get your ideas from? And I actually kind of always get them while I'm working on something else. Like, I'll be sort of like really engrossed in something I'm writing, and then boom, like some other idea will strike me. And I have a book where I actually just write book ideas down in. And the more books I write, the more that book fills up with, like, so now I have just too many. Like, I've got all these books I like, I'm afraid I'm never going to be able to write. But
yeah, but you're young. You got a long way to go yet.
Yeah, for sure. But I'm afraid of I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, I'm afraid of how, when I wrote my first book, I had like an idea for one more, but then when I wrote my second, then I had like 8, and then 3, it's like 16, 17. And now I'm like, dude, you know, I can't possibly keep up with that.
I don't know. Stephen King, he writes prolific.
He does, man.
So I think you just got to figure out the system.
I just read his On Writing, maybe like 2 months ago, and it was brilliant, man. I mean, he is like, it's amazing what he's accomplished in his life as a writer, and also what he's done in terms of, like, you know, blazing the trail, man. Like he's so out of bounds, eccentric, creative, and he pushes the bar, and like he's we're all better for it. Like he's I think in this world of kind of like hyper censorship with books and storytelling, he's continued to just say, you know what, I'm doing it my way, and like it or not, and he's respected for it. And we need pioneers like that, because people are ready to take everything away from you for one little slip up. And like Stephen King's books are banned in a lot of places now, and he's like, I don't care. Like, I think he had a tweet recently. It was epic, man. He tweeted, hey, like, he tweeted like, this is a message to all of you kids out there in high schools that have a list of books that are banned at your library. Go online and buy those books right now and start reading them, and figure out what they're trying to keep from you, you know? And it's like, yeah, we need guys like Stephen King to continue to fight for the idea of like freedom of speech, and especially in books, because it is important. So
thankfully it looks like his son got the writer's gift, so that's a good.
Now he's Stephen, I mean, and he's had his battles too, man. He went through some drug problems, he went through some alcohol problems, and he writes about all of that in his On Writing. If you haven't read it, I would highly recommend that too. And his car he got hit by a car. I don't know if you guys heard about that. That was a whole thing, but anyway.
How do you think those books got so good? He was on a lot of drugs.
Yeah. I mean, he talks about a couple books he wrote. He doesn't remember a single sentence like that he wrote. I mean, it's pretty insane. Yeah. And he writes about how like he couldn't, he like reads them today, and he's like, I have no idea where this came from.
He's like, this author's amazing. Who is it?
Man, I wish I would have picked up a freaking pencil when I was all fucked up on drugs. Jesus.
Yeah, but you just have Hunter Thompson stuff where it's like, it's Fear and Loathing. When you get to that chapter and it just says everything unintelligible, and it just goes to the next chapter. That'd be your whole book.
Yeah, I mean, it's all artists, man. Talk about musicians, painters, like directors, actors. I mean, yeah, the like influence of drugs and alcohol in their careers, like I don't know. I mean, it's obviously a super dangerous game. Like there's been some amazing musicians that life's got cut short because of drugs, but like, yeah, they've made some of the best music on the planet. So yeah, it's crazy.
All right, where we at on time there, Casey? How we doing?
We're doing good, man. Whatever. I'm gonna have a pleasure going back and listening to this interview because I've just been in and out. My internet is terrible today in Florida. I apologize.
No worries, man.
You should,
again,
I think I've got a steady connection now.
So you better ask some questions if you still got internet.
Well, I thought you were going to pop over for the real questions to me, and my real question you already asked.
Oh, damn it!
But
you're gonna have to
come and hear the answer to it, so I can.
All right, so we have this news segment where we do real talk, and Mark Singer is the one that came up with this. And basically, he's going to ask you a question, and you have 60 seconds to answer it the best you can.
Okay.
Yeah, and since you've already asked the question,
you have to come up with another one. That's not.
Come on.
This happens to me every week.
All right. So we already know who would play you in a movie if there was a movie about your life.
Yeah.
Who would you pick to play your mother if that movie happened?
Yeah, obviously another very important role to cast in the film of my life. I would have to go with Nicole Kidman for sure. My mom's a big Nicole Kidman fan, so that would be fitting. So she'd get to meet her too on set or wherever we're filming this project. But yeah, so I mean, we got a pretty great cast between Hanks, Pattinson, and Kidman. So I'm pretty stoked about this.
Nice. I am too.
Start filming, yeah.
Are you still on the move as much as you were before, JD, with all the promotions for the books? Because like I've been out to California a bunch of times, and I'm always like, hey man, I'm in the area, and you're like, I'm up here, I'm down here, I can't. Is it still as crazy as it was?
It actually quieted down for a bit, which was great, and I got to really like jump into this next book and do a lot of work with that. But it's starting to pick up again. Like I'm starting to do more interviews and get back out and about. And there's looking like, the summer is going to be like a lot of travel and that sort of thing. But yeah, man, I seem to always be moving around quite a bit, no matter what I'm doing. And that doesn't seem to be stopping. So yeah, it's pretty funny, but if you're in the area, let me know, because again,
I will. I always do.
In-person visits are special, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that was a cool little coffee shop that we went to.
Your
other boy, Nico, right? He played for Nietzsche. Yeah, he plays for another. You guys were talking basketball earlier. That was all like I'm kind of glad my internet wasn't working because I have no idea what you guys were talking about. But he also is a player, right? He played in another country somewhere, right?
Yeah, he played at San Diego State and then played professionally, I believe, in Spain. But he's been, an incredible influence on me and my career. And he's got some big stuff coming soon as well. And I've been kind of advising him a little bit. And I'm really glad you guys got to meet too, because he's just becoming more and more important in everything that I'm doing. And you got to have good people around you for sure, man, because it gets busy and there's a lot of different places to go and people to meet with. And also just kind of like the business side of what I do. He's been really helpful in terms of like advising, like, social media stuff, meetings with, potential investors for projects and, just kind of giving that business ear to my kind of creative side, I guess. Which has been very, very important and invaluable. So,
yeah, having a good team around you is really, really important, because if you're anything like me, like I'd like to have shit done exactly the way that I want it done, and it's very hard to trust other people in the way, like, we run this podcast network. There's 27 or 28 shows on it right now, and like everybody's like, let me know if you need any help with this I'm like, I got it. I'm good.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I want shit the way that I want it done.
Yeah.
And I've just recently, if anyone's taken notice of the Instagram, our Instagram page has gone crazy because I let Ray take over, and it's gone crazy for the better because I didn't have time for it, and Ray now has the access to our Instagram page, and it's
big.
pretty crazy how well it's done too.
I'm having a good time running it. I'll tell you what, I say the same thing all the time, Casey. I say, just let Casey do it. He's got it under control.
Hey, you got to delegate, man. I've learned to be better about that because I used to be the same way. But then you start to see there is really things that can be done, like outsourced and done much better. And yeah, I mean, I think what I've learned too, I guess, and this is maybe sort of just kind of ties in a few different things we've spoken about today, is like, I think I've learned that, with my first book, that was kind of like the center of my world, and everything I talked about all the time was like MoonFlower, MoonFlower, MoonFlower. And then I wrote Darling, You're Not Alone, and then that came out, and then that web sort of built into like a whole nother outlet of people and media opportunities and book tour. But then and then in turn put more focus on my first book, and then people would rediscover that. And then now that I'm writing my third, I'm sort of seeing how, this like never really ends. It only gets trickier once you have multiple projects out to then like keep the irons hot on each one, and you kind of bounce back and forth. And I feel like I've really only recently come to learn like that's just how it's going to be. And you just have to, you have to wear different hats and juggle different things. So I guess why I'm saying this now is like, that's when I think it's important to have other people that are helping you and advising you and giving you, doing some of the legwork while you're working on the third book or the fourth book or whatever. So
is the process still the same for this third book? Are you still handwriting it all in a notebook and taking pictures of it? And
it's good memory, man. Yeah, same exact format I've been following for that. So,
dude, you know what's really funny is my memory is shit. Like I smoke pot every day. I'm not ashamed to admit that. My short-term memory is horrible, and long-term, because I can't remember like anything from when I was a child, but like shit that we talk about on the podcast, like I had a few other podcasts too, and like I might not remember exactly what episode it was said on, but I am really good at remembering things about our guests and interviews and stuff like that. So
it's funny how, I mean, you kind of like, I kind of write about that in some ways, is in, I guess, in life, at least maybe I'm like this. You guys correct me if I'm wrong, but like some of the big moments, like, I don't know, I haven't been married, but like your wedding day or graduating from college or high school or prom or like whatever it is that like was like a monumental happening in your life, kind of actually you don't remember as much of the detail as you do in sometimes some of the most random, small, minor occurrences where you could literally remember the shirt you were wearing, the shoes you were wearing, what time it was when it happened. And I'm super fascinated by that. I think it's like, I mean, I don't know if it's like a spiritual thing or it's just kind of like this human nature interacting with the world thing, but like I always try to bottle that in the books I write with like the sequences of that end up shaping the people we are. I'm kind of drawn to that oddly, and I think it's a really weird, fascinating thing. But
yeah, it really is, because there's other guys like the guy that we talked to last week, Tommy Chong, like he's like, talk about potheads. I mean, that guy is, there isn't a larger pothead in America than Tommy Chong, and like the stories that he can remember from his days, you know, is like, unless he's just been telling the same made up story for
They're all
that
made
long,
up,
that
yeah.
it's, or like Joey Diaz. I listen to Joey Diaz his
Yeah.
podcast every week. Same thing. Like, he was addicted to coke, and you know, he smokes weed constantly, and like, he tells the same stories over and over again, and there's never a detail that's wrong. And he's already called, like, he's like, you cocksuckers don't believe me. He's like, let's call my friend, and he'll call a friend from like New Jersey from
To
40
confirm.
years ago, and they'll tell the same story. It's like, I wish that I could remember like that.
That's funny. That's funny, man. Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess this is just like a more practical little comment, but like when I write things down, I remember them way better. Even if it's something that like I write it and I throw the piece of paper away or whatever. But like if I'm in a meeting with someone and I need to remember something, I just write it down and then I don't know, it just sticks. But
is it? There's a weird thing I have when I write something down. I don't have to see it anymore. I can see it in my head.
Yeah,
I don't
right.
remember
right,
it.
exactly.
I can see the image of what I wrote on the paper.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, more
Yeah.
things that are happening to me now. Like, I travel for work. We've talked about this before, but I'll write like a specific thing down when it happens, just so I don't forget it, because I want to talk about it, you know, on the podcast or tell somebody about it. And same thing, like, I'm like, oh, I wrote that down, and now it's not leaving my head. You know.
Well, I'll tell you guys this too, and this is something I've figured out for me through writing, but it kind of applies to just life in general. Is I think I'm almost certain I mentioned this on our first episode, but when I write any book, I have a playlist I listen to for that book specifically, where it's like, this is the music I listen to while writing this book, right? And I will only listen to those songs while I'm working on that book actively. And then like while I'm like, if I'm in like a writing period, while I'm in the car, I'm listening to those songs too, and I'm thinking about that book, and I kind of like drill that into my own head. So then when I'm like exiting, like right now, the book, I'm not currently working on my third book. It's with my editor, so I'm not writing every day, and I won't listen to any of those songs. And the minute that book gets back to me and it's my time to like go through her edits, I'm going to be right back into that music. And I've found that since now this is the third book I'm doing this with, when I go and listen to songs I wrote my first book with, it's like instantly I remember where I was when I was writing that passage and what was going on. And it's like, I have memories that are kind of trapped in songs throughout my whole life, because that's how, I don't know, like what the word would be, but just like kind of how intense I am with like that discipline of only listening to a song when it's like applies to something. And yeah, it's not just writing. It's now like anything that I do, I find that the music like has that capability to like remind me of that thing. But
that's a big part of life, is music's tied to a lot of memories.
Yeah, for sure. It's crazy. I mean, it really does just like transport you back to a feeling or an idea. And I've had this take too, which I think is kind of hilarious, is like when I see pro athletes, like specifically obviously basketball players, and I mean, no offense to Gabe and all the guys we've talked about, because I think they're superstars and it's amazing what they do. But when I watch them, I don't really see them as this heroic, like, oh my God, like, I can't believe how they do that. Like, I know how they do that, right? Like, I know the hours that go into it. Like, I know what those plane trips are like. I know what those arenas filled with screaming people are like. Like, I know the ins and outs of sports. When I read books that are really prolific and like writers and even movies and directors, I feel the same. Like, I'm like, oh, that's an amazing scene they wrote. Like, I can put myself in the head of like whoever created that, and I appreciate it, but I don't see it as like that's impossible. When I listen to music that does that, I'm like, I have no idea how anyone could have ever come up with like Stairway to Heaven, Led Zeppelin. Like, to have watched Led Zeppelin put that song like that, those are my heroes, I guess, is I'm trying to say. Like, to come up with a song out of thin air seems so insane, because that's what I use to write. So it's like, where do they get their inspiration from? I don't know. I mean, it's just so wild to me. But
well, they're thieves of American blues music, JT.
Yeah, and I'll
That's
tell
how
you,
they came up with it.
they get it from somebody. They have to.
I write music, and all those guys do is make me want to stop. That's all they do. It's just like you just want to take a guitar and throw it out a window, and you hear something come on. Like I really got into this band lately called White Reaper, and it never fails. Year after year after year, another band comes along, and just when you think there's nothing else, it's gonna come out that you're gonna be like, this won't be. There's nothing left, and then a band like that comes out, and I'm like, damn it, the kids are still coming up with music. I don't know how they're doing it, but they found a secret chord that nobody else knew about.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. Well, and like, I mean, I feel like Jimi Hendrix. Like, I listen to a lot of Jimi Hendrix while I'm writing my new book, and the place his music takes me is like, it's wild. It's like, so I don't know. It's fascinating how it can do because of that now. And and his rabbit hole is like one that I'm just kind of discovering, like the dense catalog of his stuff. And it's crazy, man. I mean, music is so interesting to me.
You have so much to discover yet, JD.
I know, man.
So this is another question about your process. So we're going to be talking to, in a few weeks, David Morrell. He wrote First Blood, the Rambo book. He was the creator of Rambo.
Amazing.
Yeah. So like during the deep dive for him, he has actually like done everything that, like, he's taken every kind of, firearms training class. He might even be like a helicopter pilot, he scuba diving, and he does all this, so he knows how to write about it. Have you found yourself doing anything like that? Like, are you taking like, are you learning about different things so you can write about it better?
Yeah. So I think how I've approached that in my writing has been like more in terms of, and that's a great question. It's actually one that I've thought about. Like, so I guess I'll backtrack before I kind of answer it. I had an idea for a book that was about blind people that were interacting with each other. And I knew, in all honesty, and this kind of goes back to what Ray and I were talking about earlier with like the book ideas that I get, like that's one that I would like earmark in my place where I write my book ideas and say, all right, like if you want to really write this book and do it well, you have to go and interact with people that are blind, or could tell you like what it is like, or, I don't know, some sort of immersive way, because you can't really do it justice unless you really do know some of those things. But like the idea for this third book, which is kind of about this like group of really affluent kids who come from like all this money and all this opportunity, yet think they got real problems. Like, I really lived around a lot of these kids like this growing up, and being from like the suburbs of Los Angeles, like you see these types of things go on. And but that being said, like I also felt like I've gotten ideas for characters, and there's a very important character in this new book that isn't like any of the people I've ever met in my life. It's more just kind of like fictional characters I've encountered in books and stories, and she feels so real to me, and I have such a voice for her, yet I've never really met anyone like her. So I guess I've kind of got a little bit of both, where like I do write from things I've experienced and like lived, but also sometimes like the right mix comes in where it's like something that just comes out of thin air, but it's from a movie or a TV show I've watched. And I do think though, like books about war and that sort of atrocity, like I just read also All Is Quiet on the Western Front, which was also an amazing movie that just came out, and the remake of that. And I know that writer, Eric Maria Remarque, I believe is his name, he was actually in World War I. And I think those books, to like be able to write a real war book, you have to have like really seen it and experienced it. I think that's one that like I've often thought is like you have to have been on the front lines and seen that to be able to write about it. But yeah, that's the super fascinating point for sure. But I guess, and I would say kind of a final note on that is like I do find myself wanting to experience some different things so I can write about them for sure. And people definitely have told me that I do that. Like maybe I don't even realize it or not, but
yeah. Let's get you in a race car and get you write a book about that.
Well, I don't know. I met JD. I don't know if he could fit in a race car, man. He's a tall boy.
He'd have
kind of actively seek out people that are like really unique characters. And like one of my buddies always tells me that. He's like, dude, I don't know if you love that person. You just think they're really funny or they're really fascinating. And I'm like, no, that's like, I think they're really funny. And he's like, I don't know, dude. But yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, I tell my girlfriend about people all the time. Fascinating, who I think are fascinating people.
Yeah.
And she's like, okay, whatever.
Yeah. No, it's funny, man.
What else you got, Ray?
I think that's all I got for this one. Right. So I think I'm gonna have to ask JD to tell us where we can find him and what the hell's going on.
Yeah. Oh, you mean like on social media?
Yeah. Give us your social media stuff.
Yeah. Well, hey, I'm JD_Slajchert on Instagram and Twitter. And there it is. Book number 2, Darling, You're Not Alone, available now on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, wherever books are sold. You can go ahead and find that. Also, my first book, MoonFlower. And then you can find me on my website at jdwritesbooks.com, where you can also get that cool hat. And there's the hat. There we go. And find me on Twitter, Instagram, any social media, my website. And reach out. Find a way to interact. Always looking to communicate with anybody who has read my books and take something from them. I think that's super special. And more books to come out and more to be had. I also have a short story called Joining the Choir Invisible. That's also available on Barnes & Noble and Amazon. So maybe if you like shorter stuff, that could be for you too. So
nice. All right, my friend, we super appreciate you coming on with us for the second time. Look forward to the third time.
Yeah, already, man. And look, I mean it when I say you guys are some of my favorites. I appreciate you guys having me on, man. The support does not go unnoticed. And I'm going to be coming back, no doubt.
Thank you, brother. We appreciate it, man.
All right.
I'll see you in California.
Yeah, let me know, man. You know where to find me.
All right, buddy. Thank you, man.